Welcome back to Houston Newsmakers and Houston Fire Chief Sam Pena. Good morning, Chief. Thank you for being here.
Good morning, Canberra. Thanks for having me.
There's a lot going on. A lot of it's important. I know that as well. Let's start with the challenge you're facing now with the talks that are going on with the firefighters union. The union last week filed a suit against the city, alleging that the Turner administration failed to act in good faith during contract negotiations. Aren't you a part of the administration? And if that's the case, what was your reaction when you saw that the lawsuit had been filed?
Yes, so they actually filed the lawsuit yesterday, officially, and yeah, it alleged that we were bargaining not in good faith, and that's a different impression than I got actually sitting at the table. I firmly believe that we were having honest dialogue as far as the issues, as far as trying to get to a successor agreement. You know, my thought on that is that there's still opportunity for us to reach an agreement with the Firefighter Association and the firefighters. It's healthy for the organization. We really need to acknowledge the value that our firefighters provide to this community, but also something that's respectful of the taxpayer.
What role do you play in those actual negotiations? Are you the guy sitting there who's on behalf of the city with that union? Is that how that works?
Yes, sir. So each side has a chief negotiator. For us, it was the city attorney's office. It was a chief negotiator, but I was at the table every time, providing input, providing justification for some of the articles, and they had the same on their side.
Yeah, I know the mayor said last week one of the big challenges was trying to meet the pay demands of the union. At that time, they were asking for pay increases in the 17% range over 3 years. The city was offering 9.5% over that same period. I want you to hear what Mayor Turner said at council last week.
This is not at all intended to hurt firefighters. No one has a desire to hurt firefighters. No one has a desire. But if people are going to stand up and demand 17% from the city when it doesn't exist, then what do you ask me to do? If y'all tell me that you want me to do that, then tell me. You want me to do that, then you tell me. And then after you tell me where to do it, now tell me where the money's going to come from to do it.
So what's your biggest challenges? You try to make sure that your people get the best that they can have to be taken care of and balance it with what the city's needs are.
Correct. I can tell you that Mayor Sylvester Turner is really committed to getting them something as far as a pay raise. He understands that they haven't had a pay raise since 2014. He is committed to finding a way to get us, you know, to at least meet halfway from what the association has asked for, and he's delivered on that commitment. We are at 9.5% officially is what we've offered the association, and I can tell you that the majority of the articles we have tentatively agreed on the majority of them, except for pay and a couple others. But the pay is the big issue.
Any concern about morale while this is going on amongst your men and women?
Absolutely. You know, morale has an effect on the organization. There's a lot of external dangers that you know, they're nipping at our door, but my focus is really to be accessible, accountable, and available to our personnel to discuss some of these issues. I think with proper dialogue, the open dialogue, the honest dialogue with our firefighters and telling them what the implications are right now, what are the parameters we're having to work within. You know, we have most people are very, very reasonable as far as what we're trying to do.
You have, the mayor talked about the fact the money's not there. And that means there are a lot of things that can't get done. The fleet is one of the things he talked about. Let's talk about another big headline that grabbed the headlines the past week, and that was, one of them said, fire department inspection process in disarray. Audit finds 28 flaws in Houston's fire safety inspection system. Not good to read those headlines.
No.
What's the story behind that story, other than the fact that money's not available to get some of that stuff done?
Sure. Well, let me start by saying that I think it's important to note that it was the fire department who commissioned this audit. You know, we identified certain issues, certain gaps in the process, but we wanted an external, a third party to come in and verify. And what they found really have validated a lot of the items that we had discovered before the audit was released. Certainly, there's a lot of gaps. There's a lot of issues that we need to address within the Life Safety Bureau. But I can tell you that we have committed people in the Life Safety Bureau as inspectors that want to do and want to improve the process.
For people who may not know, what that was identifying was that a lot of the buildings that needed to be inspected way behind on the inspection of those buildings.
Correct.
And keeping track of which buildings had been
Correct.
inspected. The paperwork was not there
Correct.
to kind of make you sure you can keep up with that.
Absolutely.
One of the things I saw was that it was going to take a long time to catch up.
Well, the records management system that we have in place is inadequate. There is no, where we store our information, where we store our records, how we mine that data, or our ability to mine that data is inefficient. That is one of the steps that we have taken already to try to correct. We're working with the IT department and to build a robust records management system that not only allows us to do our work more efficiently internally, but we're able to share data and mine data from other departments that are also using this system, because it's in leveraging those resources and the work that other departments are doing that we will be able to really do a comprehensive risk-based analysis.
We can't underestimate the importance of what this organization does, inspecting these buildings. You look at the London fire that happened a few weeks ago. When you saw what was going on with that building going up, a lot of that, and the Oakland fire a few years before that, that was a result of inspections and or requirements of building code, for example. I'm guessing that the last thing you want to do is wake up and know that a building has gone up and it was because maybe an inspection wasn't done that something might have happened.
Absolutely, absolutely. And if you look at the, if you read the studies and the reports after these major incidents, and you start seeing that other departments really have had a reason to be in these buildings, and at some point and sometimes cited these buildings for different items. But the way we are structured right now, we are very siloed in the department. There's no inter-department communication.
So that's one of the things you're trying to change?
Exactly. This records management system that's the Department of Neighborhoods, that the health department, that the fire department, that the building official, that if we have one repository where everybody's feeding information, really we can mine data from that to be able to build out and identify risk. Let me give you a quick example. If and I mentioned this before, if the Department of Health goes in and cites a business because their range hood extinguishing system is full of grease, right now there is no way to share that information with us. But for us it's important because at some point that may be a fire. So being able to mine that data and really get a comprehensive understanding of the risk that exists in this city is what we need to do. So we've already taken steps towards addressing those issues.
All right, well, we're going to continue to talk with you about a number of things, including how much of this you saw before you got here. Is the honeymoon still going on? We'll talk about that after this break with Fire Chief Sam Pena, right after this break.
Yes.